The creative industry you participate in today is not a marketplace. It is a subscription-based cage designed to extract wealth until your very last click. You likely believe that Adobe dominates the design world because their software is superior, but the reality is far more sinister. They didn't win by building a better product. They won by purchasing every single competitor that threatened their dominance. This isn't just about software, it's about how a single corporate entity successfully turned creative expression into a mandatory, monthly tax for millions of people worldwide. To understand the magnitude of this capture, we must look back to the early 2000s. Back then, Adobe was a giant, but it was a predictable one. You bought a disk, you installed it, and you owned the tool. It was a one-time transaction. But as the internet matured and cloud computing became the new industry standard, Adobe's executives saw a terrifying problem. Their customers weren't buying new versions. They were happy with what they had. This meant their revenue growth was stagnating, and for a publicly traded company, stagnation is a death sentence. In 2013, they took the leap that would define modern corporate greed. They killed the perpetual license. They forced the world onto Creative Cloud. The narrative was that it offered constant updates, but the mathematical reality was clear. It moved Adobe from a company selling products to a utility provider, effectively creating a monopoly on the professional creative workflow. Look at the history of their expansion. In 2005, Adobe acquired Macromedia for $3.4 billion, the biggest deal in software at the time, simply to eliminate Flash's biggest rival and integrate the industry-standard vector tool, Illustrator. They didn't stop there. They went on a multi-billion-dollar shopping spree, swallowing up competitors like Omniture, Neolane, Magento, and Marketo. Each acquisition wasn't about innovation, it was about asset stripping and defensive moats. By buying these companies, they ensured that no new software could ever truly challenge their position in the market. But the true dark truth lies in their recent behavior. Consider the attempted $20 billion acquisition of Figma. Figma was the first platform in a decade that actually threatened Adobe's grip on the UI/UX design world. It was browser-based, collaborative, and fast. Adobe saw the danger immediately. They tried to buy the threat for an astronomical sum, a clear admission that they had lost the ability to innovate on their own terms. When regulatory bodies eventually forced them to cancel the deal, it revealed the fragility of their strategy. They are a beast that needs to feed on other companies to stay relevant. When they cannot buy their way to the top, their software bloats, their prices hike, and the user base suffers. Consider the hidden cost to the professional. If you work in graphic design, motion graphics, or video editing, you are likely spending over $600 a year for the rest of your career just to keep your files accessible. You are not buying the software, you are renting the ability to open your own work. If you stop paying, the doors to your professional history slam shut. Adobe has successfully lobbied to make themselves as essential as electricity, then raised the price of the power whenever they felt the shareholders needed a stronger quarter. This is the paradox of modern software. We were promised a digital revolution that would democratize tools for every artist on the planet. Instead, we ended up with a subscription model that serves as a barrier to entry for the next generation of talent. The small business owner, the freelance artist, and the student are all paying a convenience tax that keeps them locked into an ecosystem they cannot afford to leave. Adobe is the master of this game, utilizing complex licensing agreements and proprietary file formats that act as digital handcuffs. They don't want you to be a creative, they want you to be a monthly subscriber. When we look at the landscape of professional tools, we see that innovation has slowed to a crawl. Compare Photoshop today to Photoshop a decade ago. Is it twice as good? Is it 3 times better? No. It is just more integrated into the cloud. The capital that should have been spent on groundbreaking research and development has been diverted into predatory acquisitions and marketing campaigns designed to convince you that there is no alternative. This is the tragic cycle of a monopoly. It kills the very competition that would have forced it to become better. So, where does this end? As Adobe pushes further into AI-generated content, they are now training their models on the very user data they harvest from their captive audience. They have successfully monetized your work to train the machine that will eventually replace you. It is a masterstroke of corporate strategy, and it is happening right under your nose. The question you must ask yourself is not which software is the best, but whether you are willing to continue funding a system that has fundamentally broken the spirit of creative competition. You are a captive of the subscription economy. And as long as you continue to pay, they will never have to earn your loyalty again. If this deep dive into the business of design shook your perspective, you need to watch our next video, where we expose the software cartel and how the tech industry is coordinating to hike your monthly subscription bills by over 40% globally. Click the link on the screen to see the full breakdown of how they are tracking your every move.